If you or somebody you know is about to go to prison, you need to watch this video because it will save your life. What to expect in prison, we're going to show you tonight on Midnight Radio. Good to finally talk to you. Hope you're feeling better.
Yeah, I'm feeling better.
I'm going to go ahead and introduce you. This is...
Hi.
Hi.
Been a prison guard for 18 years. She's no longer working as a prison guard. That means she's willing to tell us everything. So that's good. Let's, I guess we'll start at the beginning. What is it like getting convicted and going into jail for your first night? What should we expect?
On your first night, you're going to go through like an orientation where they find out everything about you. And after you get through that, they're going to put you in a wing with everybody else. And after you're in the wing, like all the rest of the offenders or whoever's in there is going to evaluate you, check you out to see if they want to talk to you or not and figure out what you're in for. And basically at this time, they're going to try to take your stuff. They're going to try to make you pay for protection. They're going to make you try to join their gang or whatever activities are going on in that wing.
So it would be my best interest to go straight to the white supremacists. Or
yes, Jerry, yes.
and nobody really has a choice, do they? They have to go right straight to the gang or, have to give up their stuff.
It's not, they're going to beat you up first thing to see what you have.
And
then
that's one thing my friends and I I didn't joke about, but I heard it joked about before. Yeah, if I ever go in prison, the first thing I'm ever going to do is find the biggest guy I can find and just start punching him in the face my first day, then everybody will leave me alone. Does that happen?
No. They're pretty much scared as soon as they hit the wing. You can see the fear in their eyes, especially if they're a first-time offender.
And they should be, right?
Yes. You should be very scared.
So you've seen a lot of things. Plus, you got people who are there on drugs and are probably still on them.
Yes, there's a big issue. I know in the Texas prison system, there's a big issue with drugs.
So if you're checking in for the first time and you're still doing withdrawals, I imagine that's going to make it a little bit harder on you, isn't it?
It really is. You're going to have to come off of that. And then they're going to give you a cellmate, and your cellee's not going to agree with what you're going through, and he's going to be mad at you, or she's going to be mad at you for going through whatever you're going through.
Wow.
So.
I'm into a book right now, The Night the DeFeos Died, and it talks about this one man, Ronnie DeFeo, going into prison and what it took him or how it changed him getting used to prison, accepting the prison life, and how he went from starting trouble at first to being institutionalized, for lack of a better term.
Yes, it's a totally different world. You start going into their world. You got the prison world and the outside world. And you just join in their world, and that's your life forever, how long you're in there. And then you have to you have a set schedule from going to breakfast, changing your laundry out. Whenever lunchtime is, they make you go to school. They make you, whenever you can go outside a certain time. But other than that, you're on that schedule. You don't do nothing unless they tell you to do something.
There's still a lot of bad things that go on in prison, regardless of the rules. They just find ways to work around them, right?
Yes. There's always like contraband coming in through either visitation or officers bringing it in.
Officers. Still to this day, there are people doing that.
Yes.
Well, you got to realize being a prison guard doesn't pay that much.
No, it don't. Me, as a lieutenant, I was only bringing home like $2,200 a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not a lot at all.
No, it's not. The only thing that kept me out there was the benefits, because we had good insurance and retirement and all that.
What type of prison are you talking about? Is it, I lost my train of thought. I had the word right at the tip of my tongue, and I knew what I was going to ask. The highest prison type you can go
maximum security?
Maximum prison, or is
I
just
worked in a
regular
medium
population?
Unit, which it started from theft all the way to murder. But like the ones that got murdered that didn't get life, that's who we had. Whenever you talk about maximum security, they got either 25 to life or something like that. We had the ones that had up to like 20, 30 years. And then after them people had been in prison and got their minimum custody, because we had minimum custody, medium custody, and whenever we made somebody high security, we shipped them off the unit. Every offender on the unit is capable of being a maximum security offender. It just depends on how they act while they're in. You know, they committed a crime whenever they went in, but the choices they make while they're locked in there, if they're going to assault an officer or assault another offender or stab him or take his stuff, it just continues on while they're in, and we file free roll charges on them while they're in there. And so they get more time stacked on top.
Question from Bonnie Prince. Do they give detox meds to keep a prisoner from dying from withdrawals?
There's no detox meds that they take. They have them in a cell with whatever, and they just go through it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And practice tough love in prison.
Yeah. It's like we always tell them, you have no rights once you enter that gate. You belong to the state of Texas.
Wow. So, tell us what a meth addict is like.
A meth addict, whenever you have a meth addict and you know they've been a meth addict, they're very high strung after they're off of their meds. You should have a whole room, a day room. They're the ones that are going to be the most high strung. You say anything to them, they're going to pop right back to you. They're not going to have a good relationship with anybody, hardly anybody. They might have one or two friends, and that's only because they're ex-meth addicts also. But in the penitentiary, they're more able to react to something and get in trouble and then turn around and tell you they're sorry. They didn't mean to do that. I don't know why I did that. I didn't mean to do that. And then they're sorry about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a constant reaction to them. They don't sit and think about it.
Okay. What about people with medical issues like diabetics and stuff like that?
They're in there. They have a pill window, and they go up to the window, get their pills, and all the diabetics come in, and you check them in. They lay out their insulin, and they check their sugar, and they tell them how much they're supposed to take, and they inject themselves.
What about murderers? Are they different? There's different types of murderers. But,
Yeah.
Do they have a particular personality type?
Like you have some that are in there for murder for killing their wife because they were messing around, or you have somebody in there for murder because they were in a gang war and they shot somebody and killed somebody. But then you have other people that are in there because they just flat killed somebody, Most of them people that just like flat out come out and kill somebody are your loners. They're not very personal. They don't interact very much. They're very quiet people. But, the ones that just done it at a spur of the moment, and shot somebody, and it's just the way it felt. They're out there kicking up with their homies and all that. Your murderers are going to be mainly they're going to stay in the cell. They're going to come out to the day room every once in a while. They're not going to socialize as much as regular people do. But like if you come in like if you had a serial killer, more than likely we'll never see him. I would never see him because he's going to be high security. Because he's more than likely going to have life, and he's going to stay in that cell 23 hours out of the day. He only gets 1 hour to come out and wreck and take a shower and go back in his cell.
And you worked in a male prison. Would it be the same for a woman's prison?
Yes.
So, yeah, that does make sense. There's different kinds of murderers. What about domestic abusers? What is prison like for them?
Domestic abusers, they're the ones that are your lead gang people. They don't in a male prison, that's bring props. Oh, you domestically abuse somebody, you're a badass, you're the one's going to be holding high rank in your gangs and stuff like that. And more than likely go out and do the hits that they tell you to go hit. Hey, we need this person taken out. Go take this person out, That's the people they're going to pick.
So because somebody beat the crap out of a woman, they have higher ranks?
Yeah. More violent offender you are, the higher the rank you are in there.
What about people, and I can't say the word on YouTube, who SA children?
Uh-huh. Oh, they're the scum. They're the ones that are going to be passed around and sold and passed around and assaulted over and over and over. They're sold for money from gang to gang.
Wow. Does that go true with
if you had a white offender come in and try to join, say the Aryan Brotherhood or something like that, and he told them a wholly different story, their family's going to look them up. They have a way to look them up to see what they're in for, and they lied to them. It's going to be very bad on them.
And very does that bad. Go for individuals that murder children?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, same thing. They are passed around. I don't know what it is, but between an adult and a child, offenders, they don't take likely to people that harm children, assault children, kill children, anything like that.
So Jared Fogel's not having a good time right now?
No.
Oh, my.
How many people, these questions, I apologize. I'm just reading questions from the chat.
Mm-hmm.
So how many people are in one pod, and how many pods do, the prison you worked at have?
In the prison I worked for, they had 5 buildings. And in each building, there was 3 pods. And in each pod, there was 84 offenders each.
Okay. And was that a maximum security prison? Or no, I think you answered that.
You said it was medium, right?
Medium security, yes.
Okay.
Can you tell us more about the social structure there in prison that you haven't told us so far?
In prison, you have the guys that are considered the religious people. They have a whole wing filled of religious people.
You get your own wing? You get your own wing?
The religious ones do.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, but it takes a long time to prove yourself to be able to be put in that wing with them.
Oh, Lord. I'd hate to imagine. Yeah. How do you prove yourself?
Well, you're going to church every day. You've been baptized. You're committing yourself. Everything you do is good. You don't get into any trouble at all. You're trying to do right. You're trying to turn your life around.
Okay. Wow.
Those are the people that are in there.
Okay. Question from Delia Fitz in chat. Let's see. Have you had any high profile inmates that you remember?
No, not on our prison. We did have some of the polygamists, the Jeffs.
Oh, yeah.
One of them
Okay.
were there. Yeah, we had one of them.
So
But that
other
was
than the
was
I'm sorry, go ahead.
that was the most high profile one we had. You know, everybody knew about him.
So other than the wing of the preachers, what how's the rest of the structure?
And then you got like your white offenders, Hispanic offenders. Our classification always tried to mix the races in the wings and who they lived with. Not too many white, not too many Hispanic, and not too many black together. And they always tried to put like a white and a Hispanic or a Hispanic black, something like that, in a cell together. But in those wings, you have your gangs, and the gangs own certain part of the wings, the tables, the benches, everything. You can't sit in a certain spot. You can't watch TV at a certain time because this is who it belongs to at this time. The showers are even marked of who can shower in those showers. It's just a constant deal there. And you just got to work your way in to where you can go in. Most of the weaker offenders you hardly ever see come out of their cell because they're taking bird baths where they bathe themselves in their sink, in their shower, in their cells and stuff like that because they're too scared to go take a shower.
Wow.
If anybody in chat has questions, please feel free to ask them in chat, or you can come up on panel.
Does the prison system have anything to stop these gangs, to stop them forming? Is there any way to fix that in your eyes?
In the prison, we have a gang intelligence office, and they keep track of every gang that comes in. Whenever they come in, we look at all their tattoos, take pictures of them, of what they have whenever they come in. Later on, if they're causing problems, we bring them in, we relook at them, reevaluate them. We'll log them into a system, which helps our state police here in Texas. In the system, they look them up. It shows that, oh, they're a confirmed member of the Mexican Mafia. You know, so he knows who he's dealing with right then. You know, there's no way stopping because it comes from the free world into the prison world. It's formed from the outside in, and they just take recruits whenever they're in.
And Delia Fitz is asking, what gang had most control in your prison?
Do I? Pardon me?
What gang had most control?
Most control, I would have to say pretty much the Aryan Brotherhood where we were. You had your Aryan Brotherhood and Mexican Mafia that ran most of it.
Yeah. And you're in Texas, correct? You said?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure if you ever watched the TV show 60 Days In.
Yeah.
Does that show portray what it's actually like in prison, or does it soften it a little bit, do you think?
It really does portray, but in certain things that happen in there, it kind of softens it. It's like they try to kill it before it happens in there, you know?
So what kind of things did they soften, but if you told us you wouldn't soften?
Like the assaults that go on in there, they soften them down, you know? Things happen, they get mad at one another. It's just like they sell their food, and if you don't give them enough food, they're going to come back and get you. You make a bet on a football game, and you don't pay it off right away, they're going to come get you, you know, everything. And I've seen assaults taken out right in the day room. They make a weapon out of practically anything, and they'll stab you in the day room. You know, it's just the way they think. And you have a whole day room full of inmates, and none of them seen anything, you know. We just now barely in 2016 started getting video cameras in our wings so we could see what was going on when an officer wasn't in there. Because there's only 2 officers on the floor for 3 pods of 84 inmates each. And you have 1 officer up in the picket that's controlling the doors. There's only 3 of you there. you can't see everything all the time.
Okay. Question from Heather in chat. Can you tell her what happens in solitary confinement and how that affects the prisoners after they come out into general population?
In solitary, they're in I want to say it's about a 10 by 5 room with nothing but a bed and a table, a sink, and a toilet. There's no TV. There's no nothing. No radio. They don't have anything. No fans or nothing. Most of the solitaries that I've been in, they try to keep that solitary as cold as it can be so they'll sleep all the time and not bother them. That's how most solitaries I've seen. And they're in there for 30 days sometimes, 45. And whenever they come out, most of the time they get solitary time because of fights or an assault they did on somebody, or just they've had too many disciplinary cases. They'll give them solitary time.
Okay. And would a prisoner, well, I don't know how to compare this one. Actually, we follow a case. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, the Summer Wells case. And her father is currently in jail. He's not actually in prison, so I don't know. Do they have access to the internet? Do you know?
Some prisons, jails and stuff like that, they have access to internet. The Texas prison system does not. All they have access to is the phone system, and you have to be on their approved visitation list and approved to make phone calls to them. But they don't have any access to any internet or anything like that.
Okay. Ladybug Love wants to know, can't they stop the SA with people that want no part of it in the jails?
They have a deal called protective custody that we can put some people in, but most of the things, it's hard to get protective custody because we only have so many units that have protective custody. And it has to be really bad to put somebody in protective custody, like there's a hit out on their life or something like that. That's the only time we put somebody in protective custody. It's, I know it sounds harsh and everything, but we tell them that's what you get when you come to prison. I don't know what you thought this was going to be when you came in. This is not a daycare, This is real life. You wanted to play with the big boys, so now you're playing with the big boys,
Okay. Lori or Gramsey, do you have a question since you're on panel?
Yeah, I actually do. Hey, you mentioned something about a polygamous person that was in there.
Yes.
I'm from that black background. The Warren Jeffs thing, was it any part of his group?
Yes. I can't remember what his first name was, but his last name was Jeff.
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. He was there. I think he had like a 50-something year sentence for his. But his head wife and a couple other wives would show up, and they would bring the children.
Oh, wow. Was it in that compound in Texas?
Yes. He was only able to see the head wife with a non-contact visit, and the rest of them he had to see through the glass.
Yeah, my oldest brother is still in it really heavy. Haven't seen him for 12 years now.
Yeah. They constantly told us they were living somewhere and it wasn't the right address because they were coming every weekend and they would get like a 4-hour visit Saturday and Sunday because of the distance they were coming. But they were there every single weekend.
I appreciate you talking to me about that. I heard you say that and I'm like, I am on there.
I was waiting for you to pop up.
Thank you.
How easy is it, Ray Law wants to know, how easy is it to get phones in there?
Very easy. It's just like the drugs.
Really?
Yeah. You have officers that bring them in and sell them to them. And they come in during visitation.
Okay.
Do you think increasing the pay would help stop the officers' corruption of bringing in contraband?
Well, see, whenever they come in, we go through a search, a real good search. You know, we take our shoes off. They get patted down. They get a metal detector, everything. But some people, they shove things in places where we can't get, and it's just awful the way it comes in, and then they still get it, no matter what.
That's what I'm saying. Like for the prisoner guards that are bringing in contraband themselves, does that happen a lot? And do you think that there's a way to stop that? Is it the pay? If they were increased in pay, would they continue to bring that contraband in, or would it not affect it in your eyes?
It's kind of hard to stop it, but their pay is very low. Like I said before, they hardly get paid anything, and it's not their worth, But I don't think it'll ever end, because the inmates, they pay them pretty good to bring stuff in, so they can make their deals and stuff.
When these phones are, let's say, smuggled in and they get in, now with these phones, do they have, let's say it's a smartphone, would they have access to Wi-Fi with these phones, or there's just no Wi-Fi available?
They wouldn't have access to like Wi-Fi. They might have like whenever you're out driving in your car, regular internet, because we've caught a couple of inmates that have been on Facebook taking pictures of themselves, and posting it on Facebook.
Because that was one of the questions somebody had asked earlier, like with Don Wells being in jail, let's say, which is different than prison. I know that, if he had a phone in there, would he have access to like YouTube to see what his wife's been posting on YouTube or on Facebook and stuff like that?
Yeah, if they had a phone that had a good enough signal. Some prisons, they've started putting up the deals to mess up the signals on phones in the prison system, on the buildings, so it wouldn't, help them getting out the signal. But I don't think Texas has done that yet. I haven't heard anybody talking about it.
Can you tell us a little bit about the gang MS-13 in the Texas prison system?
They are some scary people. Mm-hmm. They're very scary people. The first one I ever saw, he was covered head to toe in tattoos all over. He's bald. And even his eyes were tattooed red. Just scary. Scary, scary people. You would think you met the devil that day. That's how I felt.
Did you actually just say tattooed balls?
Yeah, he was bald-headed. I mean,
bald-headed.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you meant
every inch of his body is
genitalia.
tattooed.
I was like, what?
But she did say his eyes were tattooed red.
Yeah.
Yes,
white
even
of
his
wow.
eyes were red.
So
I'm going to drop out. Thank you for letting me come up.
You're welcome.
So, go ahead.
Jail harder than prison, do you think?
Jail is a place they do most of the recruiting, I would say. I had a nephew that went to jail, and he told me it was pretty rough whenever he first went in. But I think to me, jail is like junior high. And whenever you get into the prison system, that's like you're in high school now, You just get introduced to the bigger ones. And what you're going to see in jail is your minor, people while they're waiting to go into the prison system.
Could you tell us about what female prisoners for prison for females is like?
I've always heard that the females are way more violent than the male offenders. And of course, with women temper, they hold grudges longer. They have their gangs in there, but they also have a thing called families. They have a family group. Somebody will play the mom role, the dad role, the kids. They have like a family role going on in there. And they say it's one of the most disgusting units to work in is the female unit.
I believe that. Look at the difference between a male and a female restroom in public places. So, yeah.
Yeah. They say once it's one woman's time of the month, the whole pod, it's their time of the month, you know. So you have 84 offenders on their time of the month, you know, that you're having to deal with.
Yeah.
And they said they're more open with their lesbian activities and stuff like that in the day room and get in trouble a lot.
Wow. Stone 95 says they put contraband and food in their clear containers and guards get threats. And some family, I had a friend inside years ago and had a smartphone. Is that correct to say?
Yeah. Yeah, everything we carry in is supposed to be in a clear container. Even whenever they come in for visitation, all we're allowing them to bring in is like a bag full of $10 worth of quarters for the vending machines, and they get to bring in one diaper and some wipes in a clear bag. That's all we're allowing them to bring in, but it still comes in.
Okay.
What about pregnant females? Are they housed in a separate?
Yes, they have a medical unit for them. And as soon as they have their baby, they're allowed to stay with them, I believe it's 6 months. And after the 6 months, either a family has to take them or they're given up.
There was a show on one of the channels that there are some prisons that do allow them to have their babies with them for a period of time, I think up until a year or something.
Yeah. Yeah. In Texas, I believe it's 6 months.
Okay.
Okay. Right at 30 minutes. Did you want to continue or?
I got a couple more minutes if you want to talk.
Okay. Do we have any more questions from the panel, or does anybody want to come up and ask her any more questions?
My father was a captain. He's a correction officer. He retired here in Florida. A long time ago, though, he also oversaw the chain gangs, the guys working. Do you still have that in Texas, or is that stopped? Do they have jobs in prison?
They have jobs. They don't have a change gang anymore. We have the field force, the inmates that go out there and hold the fields and stuff like that. But we have jobs from working in the field to being like a janitor, working in food service, working in the education department, in the library. You know, those are your better offenders and stuff like that. They still have jobs, but they do not get paid to work in Texas.
Okay, let me just check.
So it's just a way to get out of the gangs and the system and stuff is to go out to work, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, to get out of the wing for the day. That's a better thing to do.
How are they buying drugs in there? How is it money's getting in there as well? I mean, my stepson was a heroin addict, so he was arrested and jailed. And he told me about the drugs that went through, but how do they pay for them? Like, I never asked.
Like,
you know, if somebody's like, I've got heroin.
Yeah, his family from the outside will pay the officer to bring it in. And those people will deal it out to the offenders for whatever they want, like a radio, shoes. Sometimes if they're going to buy a big amount, their family will put money on that offender's books from the outside. And that's how you catch most of them, is somebody that is putting money on his son's books, but now it's putting it on Joe Blow's books also. You know, what's going on, you know. And that's how you catch them. Most of the transactions in there go through commissary. And their families paying off their debts and stuff on the outside.
Sorry about my dog. How does the commissary work if they don't get paid? Or are they, like, if there isn't a family to put money on the books and stuff, are they able to somehow get that stuff, or they're just basically shit out of luck?
We have an indigent program, but every offender on the unit every week, get so many little bars of soap and a toothbrush and some tooth powder. And they have an indigent program that provides them with so many stamps and so many pieces of paper. But as far as the food, they don't give them any food or anything like that. They have to go to the chow hall and get that. They don't give them shampoo or nothing like that. But they just have to make do with the soap and the tooth powder and stuff they get for hygiene.
And basically, if they want something else, they'll have to
sell something or
pay
somebody's
somebody
laundry
some
or
way.
stuff like that.
Okay. Any other questions in chat? Lori?
I don't. She's been very thorough.
Oh, one quick one here. Do they allow therapy dogs to come in to assist in any way with the inmates?
Like the drug dogs or something?
No, therapy dogs.
Oh, therapy dogs, no. I will tell you, I have a pit bull that I got from a unit, I adopted from a unit. These dogs up there, it's not Fort Worth in Texas, and they let so many dogs go into a wing, and these inmates have been approved to train them, and then they adopt the animals out. And I received a pet from that program, and he's a very well-trained dog.
That's great. That's good.
Yeah.
Something positive coming out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Heather, I think Heather said there's a lot of trading sex for commissary products also.
Yeah, there's a lot of trading stuff and paying off debts and stuff like that with commissary.
What about drugs in prison? So you really can get anything you want?
Pretty much, you can get anything you want.
Good Lordy. So the meth addicts, they're still getting meth in prison?
Yeah.
Oh my.
Wow. Let's see.
But the thing is, if you're a meth addict, you're going to have highs and lows because sometimes you're going to be able to get it and sometimes you're not going to be able to get it,
Right.
Let's see. I was told inmates move stuff around the prison and then they get food that way. Yeah.
Yes. I've had an offender strap like 2 racks of ribs around his stomach that worked in the kitchen with plastic wrap and try to get out with it. They constantly putting food on them, like the janitors and stuff. They'll put it in their mop buckets with their jackets and stuff and try to push stuff from place to place. You constantly have to search them.
Do they stuff toilets up on purpose?
I think they do. They flush everything. Especially if they know you're going to come search their house, they flush everything.
Wow. Okay. I think I don't see any more questions here.
Has there been a lot of corrections officer caught of doing these?
There's quite a few.
And they get arrested?
Yes, they get arrested. Most of them get probation time, though, out of it. They threaten them, but it's like they take away their retirement and everything that they worked for. They don't get that anymore. So everything they had paid in their retirement and everything, they lose, and they get pretty much probation time out of it.
Are they caught regularly, or do a lot of people can go a whole career without ever getting caught?
There's some of them that are that good they never get caught. It's like they're doing it, but you can't ever catch them.
I have one more question for you, but I forgot what it was. Does anybody else have one?
Jerry.
It's like me.
What about attacking? My father was held by a knife to his throat. How have you had anything like that before? Is that common? Do you guys have a special response team that comes in? He didn't have that back then. So do you guys have that?
Yes, we have a team that's suited it together. They call them the Goon Squad. They put the vest and the helmets and everything in and go in and get them.
What was
And go ahead, Jerry.
What was your scariest moment there in working there?
I think one of the scariest moments is whenever we were recreating two opposite gangs in the wing after they've been on lockdown to see if they could wreck with each other. And they waited to almost the time that it was over, and they all jumped up and started fighting and started to attack staff members.
Wow.
That was one of the scariest. And when the lights go out in the prison, that's scary too.
How often are prisoners killed, or even guards killed in the prisons that we don't hear about?
Most of them that you're going to hear about, if it's a guard, you're going to hear about it.
Okay.
There's been quite a few officers that's been killed at work. There's inmates that are killed, and you'll hardly hear about them unless their family comes and puts a lawsuit out because he was wrongfully killed or something. They think it's the prison system's fault for him getting killed. Because there was one that was a sex offender, and his cellie murdered him in the middle of the night, and he laid there for like 5-6 days without anybody knowing he was dead. Stuff like that, you know.
What's the most unique weapon and cooking devices that you've seen made in the prison?
The weapons, I would have to say, is the arrows they make. It's kind of like a bow and arrow, but it's made out of toilet paper, and they make that thing rock hard and sharp, and they hurt.
Wow.
They usually do those whenever we're on lockdown. They'll do that and shoot them at the officers. As far as like cooking deals, they have hot pots in their cells, most of them. But I've seen them. They cook in their toilet also. They make pies and stuff out of in their toilet.
Toilet pie.
Oh,
yeah. They brush their teeth
Potty
in the
pie.
toilet. You know.
Oh yeah.
How do they? Okay, wait. They make a pie out in the toilet?
Poopy pie.
Yeah, they'll make all the ingredients and set the pie in there to let it rise or whatever. Because they got cream cheese and stuff like that. They make their own pie stuff, and they'll have it sitting in their toilet.
That's something you don't see on TV.
Yeah.
Hey, cooking show idea.
Amy in chat says, I'm a nurse. Would you recommend a nurse working in the infirmary?
No. 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 I think that's probably one of the times I got the most mad is whenever an inmate tried to go after a nurse. And
I'm still freaked out about the pie in the toilet shit. Sorry.
Yeah.
So
We don't want to keep you too long.
Questions in chat right now, Jerry.
We want to thank you for doing this interview with us. We really appreciate it. Again, this was, she was a prison guard for 18 years, and she gave us a lot of information we didn't know about, like toilet pies.
That is true.
Yeah.
For coming on
Thank you for having me.
Giving us an eye-opener what it's like to be in prison.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to go.
And I'm not going.
I'm never talking to the
56
cops.
years.
having a dad as a corrections officer, I was afraid of prison very early.
Yeah.
I knew I never wanted to be there. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I went to prison. I have a better story than you do, and I know a whole lot more. I think you're right. Whether you went to prison or jail, I want to hear your story. Go look at my About page. You can find my phone number down here in the description. There's my phone number. You leave me a message. We'll set up a time for an interview. I would like to talk to you. Until next time, good night and God bless.